Ancient technologies. Where is the evidence for lost advanced ancient civilization, aka Atlantis? Because a lot of people like Atlantis. I like Atlantis as well. And by the way, there's a live action Atlantis movie coming out, so make sure y'all ready to watch that because I know I want to see it. So, what's the evidence? Where's the evidence for this lost, advanced civilization? Well, the first thing is it's lost. Now, lost is just another way of saying misplaced, right? It's currently missing. It's currently not easy to find. And I'll use this analogy. If I have a PlayStation 5 with some PlayStation 5 games, but I also have some non-PlayStation 5 games. Let's say I have some older ones like PlayStation 4, 3, because let's say the PlayStation 5 can play older PlayStation games. All right. And, it got controllers, it got plugs and whatnot. I leave for a month, come back, and then suddenly my PlayStation 5 is missing, right? So it's gone, the controllers are gone, the PlayStation 5 games are gone, but the other games are still there. Some of the plugs, right, like the power plug and stuff there, is still there. Now the power plug does not say PlayStation 5 on it, so it's just a generic plug. They can be used on any of the PlayStation systems, right? The games that are still there are not PlayStation 5 specific games. They're older games, right? So they're for different systems. So if it wasn't for the fact that I know for a fact that I had a PlayStation 5 there and that's missing, plus the PlayStation 5 games are missing, right? It'd be hard to know for a fact that there was a PlayStation 5. So if I had somebody else, right, an archaeologist comes in and be like, all right, this, and I point out there's something missing, they will be quick to be like, no, I don't think anything's missing. I mean, well, there is something missing. You're missing these things. You're missing a PlayStation 4, a 3, a 2. Notice they didn't say 5 right off the bat. They said 4, 3, 2. So they started only using the evidence there, what's still there, to paint the picture of what really happened. I'm aware that there was a PlayStation 5. There was PlayStation 5 games. Those are currently missing, and that's where the problem comes in. They're lost. Those things are lost. The evidence of those things are currently missing. However, though, there is still some remnants, right? There's still some bits and pieces of the PlayStation 5 still there. There's still the plug that was attached to the PlayStation 5, but it doesn't blatantly say it belongs to a PlayStation 5. Since it doesn't blatantly say that it's for PlayStation 5, then yeah, it's going to be hard to say that it belongs to a PlayStation 5. Hard. Unless you can find evidence that says, or something that shows, oh, a PlayStation 5 does use this type of plug. Especially because, let's say the plug was like white or something, but all the other PlayStations use a black plug. That would be what differentiates it, right? It's like, oh, we have some evidence now that says that a PlayStation 5 would need a white plug, and we just so happen to have the white plug, right? So in other words, we have a lot of evidence of Atlantis, for example, right now, in museums, in private collection, on archaeologists' websites, but they don't know that they have the evidence, right? And that's the thing. They don't know that they have something that belongs to this lost ancient civilization because it didn't blatantly say that it did come from there, that it did belong to there, right? So that's why you won't be able to find the evidence so easily about Atlantis, because the stuff for it is missing. The stuff that makes it obvious that it's Atlantis is missing, like things like items, right, saying made in Atlantis. We haven't found a big door that says welcome to Atlantis or something, or a big sign that says welcome to Atlantis. Right? We haven't found books or any type of documentation that says, Atlantis was here, or here is Atlantis, or Atlantis in this location, or I was at Atlantis last week and I met a boy and he was cute. He was a cute Atlantean boy. Like, you know what I mean? We don't have shit exactly like that. Those are what you would call the smoking guns, right? The stuff that blatantly says Atlantis exists. Of course, we're looking for that. We want that. And archaeologists will be the ones definitely to find that stuff eventually. And that's what we rely on. We rely on archaeologists to find the smoking gun. While we, look at, because the thing is, our evidence for the lost ancient civilization literally comes from what the archaeologists find. Y'all dig up the ground, y'all find some stuff, and then we look at it. And then we're like, okay, this looks different from this. It's from the same location, but there's some differences. The craftsmanship of this is way better than this. Why is that? I mean, it's from the same location. Why ain't the stuff the same quality? So you have to think about it. Like, why are the qualities different, right? Well, obviously, part of it would be different creators, right? Different people with different skill levels creating things. So when you think of an advanced civilization, you expect them to be more skilled than a lesser advanced civilization. So one group would be better than the other group in what they can do. So a lost advanced civilization will be better at building big structures, right? To be bigger at building things, so they will pass on that information to people who don't know how to build bigger things or to build things in the first place, and teach them, like, hey, y'all used to making tree houses or huts and stuff like that. Yeah, y'all used to digging underground and live underground, or live in caves, right? Or y'all make boats and y'all put, like, you make a little wooden house on a boat and you live on a boat on the ocean, right? That's what y'all do. But we have this method that we use, and we use a whole bunch of big rocks and we stack them on top of each other and we create structures out of them. We'll teach you how to do what we do, which is why you have groups, areas in the world where people have pyramids, but when you look at who they are, it's like, the Mayans have pyramids, but they mostly walk around half naked. What a civilization that can build, or would have evolved over time, to get to the skill level of building stone structures. Would they be half naked, or would they have evolved over time to a point where they would not be half naked, doing human sacrifices, among other factors? I would want to believe that if they can create big stone structures, that they will be more than, they'll be definitely beyond tribal. They're definitely beyond the idea of walk around half naked, right? They would be beyond that. So they would do more. So they would have more clothing, especially if they're traveling. They would need clothing for different environments. They'll need clothing for wet environments, for cold environments, for hot environments. I understand being half naked if you're in the desert, if you're in Mexico or something, someplace hot. I get it. I don't expect them to be wearing fur coats or anything like that in these hot climates. I get that. So of course you would be half naked in those types of environments, but you still would have, especially because you travel and whatnot, you would have non-hot climate clothing. A lot of these civilizations don't look like they traveled much. They definitely didn't travel anywhere cold. So that's why the Mayans don't have fur coats. That's why the Egyptians didn't have fur coats, because they never left their hot climate. They like to be where it's nice and hot. Don't blame them, right? but it just shows that they didn't travel that far. They don't even have like waterproof clothing because they didn't go places where there was a lot of rain, where there was a lot of a lot of moisture. So they didn't need waterproof clothing as well as they didn't need winter clothing as much. So that will make it where like, okay, well, y'all like where y'all at and y'all felt like y'all didn't need to go anywhere else. So y'all definitely would not be the advanced civilization. Y'all would just be a civilization that definitely benefited from outsiders, gods, or whatever you want to call them, or Anunnakis, or the list goes on, right? Of whatever these civilizations will refer to outsiders who have, different ways of doing things and so that and bring the information over. You hear stories about bearded men and coming over and stuff like, okay, beards would definitely be useful in colder climates, because beards are essentially fur, right? They will keep you warm. So bearded men coming to a hot climate with beards is like, well, beards is not really ideal in hot climates. They're more ideal in cold climates. So bearded men, appearing and giving information, it's like, okay, these were people from colder climate areas, and apparently they had some information knowledge that was very important. So for example, like stone structures, you really think about them, stone structures in hot climate areas, not really necessary. You can make wooden structures in hot climate areas. Stone structures make more sense in cold climate areas. Areas where there would be where the weather would be more turbulence. Like for example, we use places where there's hurricanes, right? We use concrete. We create concrete structures to help fight against hurricanes. Even flooding, right? Because you don't want your house to float away, so you're not going to have a wooden house in any place that floods. You also build the structures high up, so that way, above the water level, in case there is a flooding, at least you have the ability to go upwards and avoid them. And so there's a lot I can say, but let's get to the next step. The next thing is a lot of these, looking for evidence in the lost civilization. It's like, where would the evidence for lost civilization exist? Where would it be? Would it be in the same areas that other lesser civilizations would be? Will we find proof of evidence of a lost ancient civilization close to the shoreline, close to where hunter-gatherers would typically be? Would it be on an island? I mean, think about that. I mean, that would definitely make it hard to find evidence of a lost ancient civilization if they lived on an island, or if the civilization lived on the ocean itself, as in they created like big boats and stuff like that, and they combined the boats in a way, right? Created basically a big boat, a big, water island, basically, of whatever material they use, metal, wood, stone, whatever. And so their civilization is on water. So if their civilization is gone, well, it'll be underwater. So we won't be able to find it because it's underwater. So it's not that, it's not out there. It's just somewhere that's hard for us to get to. So what if the lost ancient civilization is down at the bottom of Mariana Trench or something? We don't know until we find it, right? Another possibility is I believe, and it'll be a good idea to check, because that's where I believe we have a better chance of finding evidence of the lost ancient civilizations, will be the high ground, as in, up in the mountains, further away from the shorelines. Because, any civilization close to water, if there was ever a flood, will definitely be washed away and be underwater, which will make it harder for us to find the evidence because it's underwater. So to make it easier for us, it's like, okay, we need to find the evidence somewhere else where it's easier to look and check and find. Well, mountains, high ground. So that's where I believe we will find lost ancient civilizations and technology, because I'm all about the technology part. That's where we'll find it. So for me to find evidence of advanced technology, advanced ancient technology, or just ancient technology, right, would be up in mountains. So that's my current theory, as it were, right? My current idea, which is where I will find them will be there. Another place, again, where we would find ancient technology, proof of the lost advanced civilization will obviously be underwater. And one of those possibilities would be ideally shipwrecks, right? Or just some type of form of transportation that ended up on the water and it was carrying some technology, and that would be helpful. Obviously, the mode of transportation, if it was an ancient airplane, well, that itself is the smoking gun, right? That itself is the ancient technology. It's like, oh shit, ancient humans definitely had airplanes. And then inside the airplane, they had some other cool shit, right? But even just a boat, because even I had, I think I made a video not too long ago about the fact that a lot of ancient technology, we can't assume that ancient technology or lost ancient advanced, Atlantis technology would be made of materials that last forever or made of materials that we think it should be made of, right? We're assuming that if they're advanced like us, quote unquote us, right, that their stuff will be made of metal and silicone and transistors and all that stuff like how we do, and they'll be electric based. It's like, no, they're more likely will use more natural methods. Their stuff will probably be a little bit more organic. They probably figure out a way to use starfish to do something. They could have literally used a starfish and connect this stuff to it and make the starfish power something, for example. I mean, it's a little barbaric. You could look at it as barbaric, like, oh, that's so inhumane, using a living organism as part of your technology. It's like, oh, but it is possible. It is definitely possible. I mean, we've done it many times before. We use animals to pull carts, to push tools, right? To do things, to do manual labor for us. Shit, we use humans to physically do stuff. So it's not above us to use something organic as part of technology, right? We even have a term for the idea of technology mixed with humans, or mixed with something organic, like a cyborg, right? Half human, half machine, right? So obviously we would have put together in ancient times they would have put together stuff made of things like bone. I was like, they probably took like a whole bunch of whale bones and created boats and other things out of whale bones, and were unaware that that's what they did. And the whale bones can deteriorate over time, right? I mean, there's whale bones in the desert in Egypt. There's a whale bone area, right? A whale boneyard. How do we know they didn't use it as a form of technology? And the whale bones are just leftovers from the technology they created with whale bones, right? Can't assume we know the materials that was used for their technology. We could just guess, theorize, and try to find proof of it, of course. And that's the idea, is trying to find proof, because it's difficult.